Good evening. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV files plunder and several other criminal complaints against former President Rodrigo Duterte and Senator Bong Go. Trillanes lodges the complaints against Duterte, Go, and two of the senator's relatives before the Office of the Ombudsman on Tuesday, October 21. The complaints were filed over the alleged funneling of nearly 7 billion pesos worth of government infrastructure projects to firms owned by Go's family. The complaint cites possible violations of the Plunder law, the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, and the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials and Employees. Trillanes is accusing the two of awarding billions of pesos worth of infrastructure projects to two firms. These include CLTG Builders, owned by Go's father, and Alfredo Builders, owned by the senator's brother. The former senator alleges that both firms cornered approximately 6.95 billion pesos in government infrastructure projects from 2016 to the present. He says this consists of over 200 projects, mostly in Davao region. According to Trillanes, the two had been committing these acts since Duterte's tenure as mayor of Davao City until his presidency. Trillanes likewise claims that over 816 million pesos of these contracts were secured through a joint venture between CLTG Builders and St. Gerard Construction. St. Gerard is a company owned by the Vizcaya family, who are now in hot water for their alleged involvement in the flood control corruption. Meanwhile, in response to the charges, Go says Trillanes is barking at the wrong tree.
To Trillanes, you are barking at the wrong tree. Kung seryoso ka talaga, bakit di mo kasuhan yung mga totoong mga corrupt talaga? Bakit di mo kasuhan yung mga financials mo? Yung mga contractor, alam mo yun. Alam mo yun. Kita mo na, nakailang buwan na tayo dito sa pagdidinig sa Senado. Huwag kang magmalinis dito. Huwag mong ilihis ang totoong issue. Dito lang tayo sa katotohanan. Seek the truth. Not the script, not the playbook.
A cultural and peace advocate is urging the Independent Commission for Infrastructure to investigate the alleged connection between First Lady Liza Marcos-Ngu and Maynard Ngu. Maynard Ngu is a tech billionaire behind Cherry Mobile, being linked to the flood control controversy. John Santander submitted on Tuesday, October 21, his letter of sentiment addressed to ICI Chair Andres Reyes.
Hindi rin kami pro-Marcos, hindi rin kami mga DDS, hindi kami mga kakamping. Okay, ito yung sarili naming pananaw bilang parte o bilang individual na naninirahan dito sa bansa natin. Ang gusto namin is maimbestigahan si Maynard Ngu na nawala na sa balita ilang buwan na may kinalaman kay First Lady Araneta Marcos. So naniniwala kami na kailangan bistigahan talaga.
Ngu was recently tagged as the alleged bagman of Senator Cheese Escudero, one of the lawmakers implicated in the anomalies. Former Public Works Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo alleged that he had coursed 160 million pesos in kickbacks meant for Escudero through Ngu. Based on his letter, Santander alleges that there is a possibility that the First Lady supposedly benefited from Ngu or vice versa. Santander cites a report wherein Ngu supposedly recommended appointments to the palace based on lists allegedly provided by the First Lady to former Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez. According to Santander, Ngu supposedly recommended Bernardo to be appointed as a senior undersecretary. The ICI says it will invite the First Lady if there is a reliable and competent basis to do so. The multiple murder and serious illegal detention charges against businessman Atong Ang and others over the missing Sabongeros have been submitted for resolution. Senior Assistant State Prosecutor Charlie Guwit says the panel of prosecutors declared the cases that went through preliminary investigations submitted for resolution. This means they will now evaluate the evidence and testimonies to determine if complaints could be filed in court. Guwit says the panel will try to resolve the case as soon as possible. He adds that there is no specific date yet for when the resolution will be issued due to documents that need to be attached to the respondents' counter-affidavits. Of the 62 respondents, 57 submitted their counter-affidavits, including Ang and celebrity Gretchen Barreto. Ang's legal counsel says they hope the case will be referred back to the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group. They argue that the evidence presented does not have enough credibility. According to Guhit, the prosecutors will address in the resolution the issue of whether or not the case should be returned to the CIDG. Prosecutor explains that the case is pending preliminary investigation and will either be dismissed or filed in court once resolved. If the case is dismissed, the complainants may refile it and submit additional documents or testimonies to the Department of Justice. A relative of the missing Sabongeros expresses confidence they will finally achieve justice. Whistleblower Julie Dondon Patitongan earlier revealed that the missing Sabongeros were allegedly dumped in Taal Lake in Batangas. The Department of Education admits a slow pace of classroom construction in 2025, blaming the Department of Public Works and Highways as the reason for the delays. In a statement, DepEd says only 22 classrooms have so far been completed under the 2025 Basic Education Facilities Fund. DepEd cites delays due to heavy workload, late validation and costing submission, and leadership changes in the DPWH. DepEd then assures the public that the current delays are temporary and that they remain focused on catching up. The department also says it will push for flexibility in the 2026 budget. Education Secretary Sonny Angara says he wants to change the system wherein only the DPWH is given authority to build DepEd classrooms.
Ang gusto namin ngayon, pati isama na yung local government units, yung mga lalawigan, yung mga lungsod, yung mga first-class municipalities, maybe even second-class, na may kakayanan gumawa ng classrooms. Palagi ko, mas bibilis yung proseso. At siguro sa dami na rin ang ginagawa ng DPWH, nahirapan na rin sila. At mukhang nawili sila dun sa flood control. Sa totoo lang matamahan na kung sino matamahan, pero parang hindi na naging priority yung pagtayo ng classroom.
According to DepEd, they will launch an online classroom dashboard for public tracking of classroom needs and construction progress. DepEd says that from July 2022 to August 2025, around 19,000 classrooms have been completed nationwide. This reduces the backlog from about 165,000 to 146,000. And these are the stories you need to know today. I am Danica Landicho. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.